All right, angle addition postulate. Let's see. First thing we need to define is we need to define something called adjacent angles. Do you know what it means to be adjacent? Not equal. Next to. When we're talking about adjacent angles, they are angles not only next to each other, but they also happen to share a side. That's kind of the big deal there. Adjacent angles share a side. So for example, if I have an angle there and an angle here, those are next to each other, yes? They're not adjacent though because they're not sharing a side, okay? Adjacent angles that share a side would be something like that, okay? So if we think about classrooms, the classrooms that are adjacent to my classroom would be the one directly next door to me here and the one directly next door to me there, because those are the only two that share a wall with me. Okay? Across the hall, yes, they're next to me, sort of. They're very close to me, but they're not adjacent because we do not share a wall. Does that make sense? If there was a classroom on the other side of this wall, they would be adjacent to me also. All right? Angle addition postulate. Here's our angle addition postulate. The sum of two adjacent angles is congruent or is equal to the measure of the angle created by those two angles. And that's kind of a Franken definition. It's not the official mathematical wording and such, but pretty much if you take the smaller two angles and you add them together, guess what they're going to equal? The bigger one. Remember the segment addition postulate? It said if you add the left part and the right part, you get the whole part. Same idea with the angles. Okay, so if I take this angle right here and I add this angle to it, guess what? It's going to be equal to that angle right there. Okay, so we need to find the measure of angle BJK. BJK, that's this guy right here, yeah? Let's label what they've given me. They've told me that IJK, so the whole thing is 115 degrees, right? The measure of IJB, this one right here, is 62 degrees. And they're asking me to find this one. I'm going to call this one X, because it's what I don't know. So what kind of equation do you think I could set up that would help me find this out? X plus 62 equals 115. So I'm going to subtract 62. And what is 115 minus 62? 53. Now what did I just find? I just found X, but what is X? What's it representing? It's representing an angle, isn't it? Therefore, that X is not just 53, but it's 53 degrees because it's the measure of angle BJK. The segment addition postulate. It's pretty much the same thing, just dealing with angles. Okay? All right, see if you can label the picture in number 3 and find the measure of angle AKL. So what are they telling me? JKL, which angle is that? Left, right, or the whole thing? JKL is the whole thing, and they're telling me the whole thing is 173. What else are they telling me? This guy right here is 103. What are they asking me to find? That one, so I'm going to call it X. So what would my equation be? X plus 103 equals 173. How do I solve it? Subtract 103. And what does X equal? 70 what? Degrees. Do expect to see that degree symbol when we're talking about the measure of an angle. Now, X isn't always going to be the measure of an angle. And we'll see that coming up actually in this next problem. This one says, find X if the measure of angle JIT, which angle is JIT? It's the little one right here, correct? It's 2x plus 4. So I'm writing 2x plus 4 right there. The measure of JIH, that's the whole thing, isn't it? It almost looks like a straight angle. What's a straight angle again? 180. Why does it almost look like a straight angle? Because it's 175 degrees. It's only 5 degrees off of being a straight angle. And what else do they tell me? TIH is 18x plus 11. Now, it's asking me to find X. Is X the measure of any of these angles? No. X is just some number that could be used to find the measure of those angles if I needed to, right? But because X itself isn't an angle like it was up here, that means it's not going to have a degree sign with it. Okay? So, what do you think I need to set up? Well, I need to say this angle, which is being called 2x plus 4, plus this angle, 18x plus 11, equals what? 175. Now, why did I put those in parentheses? Because they're two different angles, and that way I can see clearly one angle and two angles. And if for some reason this was subtraction, that would be a big deal. I would need to have those parentheses there. Now, as it is, if we're just adding, I technically have a 1 in front, right? And I would divide, or I would distribute that 1. Well, that's not going to change anything. That just gives me 2x plus 4 plus 18x plus 11 equals 175. Now I have some like terms, don't I? These guys are on the same side of the equal sign, which means I can combine them. 2x and 18x gives me what? 20x. I have more like terms that are on the same side of the equal sign. 4 and 11 equals 175. Now I have a two-step equation that we learned way back at the beginning of the year. What do? Subtract 15. So 20x equals 160, divide by 20. And x equals 8. And remember, it's not a degree measure because it's not an angle. Now, if they asked me to find one of the angles, what would I do? Let's say they asked me to go find JIT. Well, then I would go back and I would take that 8 and I would plug it in there, and then I would have a degree measure. Okay, but having just the x by itself isn't a degree measure. Okay? All right, you try number 5. All right, GFA is 27 degrees. GFE, which is the whole thing, is 3 plus 87x. And AFE, which is this guy, is 75x. So what's my equation? 75x plus what? Equals 3 plus 87x. Now, got to get my x's together. What should I do? Okay, I can move either the 75 or the 87. It doesn't matter. I'm going to subtract 75x just because I like to keep things positive if I can. So what is 87x minus 75x? So I have 27 equals 3 plus 12x. Now what? Subtract 3. So 24 equals 12x. Divide by 12. And what does x equal? Is that a degrees? No. So? Okay, let's try number 6. Measure of ABC. Which angle is that one? Left, right, or the whole thing? The whole thing is 177 degrees. Measure of ABW, is that left or right? Is 8x plus 3. And then the measure of the angle on the right, WBC, is 51x minus 3. Now this one's a little different. It doesn't say find x, does it? It says find the measure of ABW, which means I'm going to start off by finding x, and then I'm going to plug it back in to get what that measure is. So what's my equation going to be? 8x plus 3 plus equals, yep. So 8x plus 3 plus 51x minus 3 equals 177. 8x and 51x is 59x, and 3 and negative 3 are going to cancel, aren't they? So I divide by 59, and x equals, let's just verify, divided by 59 should be 3, yep. Now, that's not what I'm boxing as my answer. I need to find ABW. Which angle is that? Is that left, right, or the whole thing? Okay, so that means if this one is 8x plus 3, I'm going to take x and plug it in for x over here. So 8 times 3 plus 3. What is 8 times 3? Plus 3. So 27 what? 27 degrees is my answer. Or the measure of angle ABW equals 27 degrees. So? All right, you try number 7. All right, LKJ is what I'm looking for. That's the whole thing, right? They're telling me that LKZ is 4x plus 6. ZKJ is 74. And the whole thing is 12x. So what's my equation? 4x plus 6 plus 74 equals, okay? So 4x plus 6 plus 74 equals 12x. Those two are like terms. So I have 4x plus what? 80 equals 12x. Now what should I do? Subtract 4x. So 80 equals, divide by 8. X equals 10. Now, I need to find the measure of angle LKJ. Well, LKJ they told me was 12x, so I need to plug in 10 into that. So 12x, if I plug in 10, gives me what? 12 times 10, which is 120 what? Degrees. So? All right. Last two, we have to draw a picture. We have to be careful with this. Now, in general, we should know what this is going to look like, right? We have an angle, something like that, and we have another ray right in the middle. And I'm going to have to label the vertex over here as well as one point on each side so that I know what I'm talking about. The easiest thing to pick up first is that vertex, because on any of the angles it lists, that vertex is going to be in the middle. So ABC, CBD, that means B is my vertex. Now, which ray do they share? Which other letter do they have in common? C. So C has to be in the middle. That has to be the one that they're sharing because they both have a C. This one has an A and this one has a D. Now that I've got it set up, I can fill in the information. Again, I'm just solving for X. I'm not looking for an angle in this case. ABC is 84 plus X. CBD is X plus 26. And ABD, the whole thing, is 122. So what's my equation going to be? 84 plus X plus X plus 26 equals what? And we should be able to solve that pretty decently at this point, yeah? 84 plus x plus 26 equals 122. So I have two x's. What's 84 plus 26? 110? Equals 122. Subtract 110. So that gives me 2x equals what? 12. Divide by 2, and what does x equal? Degrees or just 6? Just 6, because it's not asking for an angle. Okay? All right, you try the last one. See if you can draw the picture. What's the vertex here? M. And what is the ray they have in common? MN, which means the other one has L and P. Out of curiosity, why don't they use O? Because they have L, M, N. Why do they skip O? O looks like a 0. You will never see it used as a letter. Okay. All right. LMN is 27 degrees. And NMP is 10x plus 4. And the whole thing is 8x plus 1. Now, it is asking me to find an angle. So, I am going to have to go back at the end, right? So, let's see. 27 plus 10x plus 4 equals 8x plus 1. So 27 plus 10x plus 4 equals 8x plus 1. Got some like terms there, so 10x plus 31 equals 8x plus 1. Yeah? I'm going to move the 8x over. And I'm going to do a little trick because I'm running out of room here. Here's my magic trick. Look at that. Tons of more space. 10x minus 8x is 2x. Plus 31 equals 1. So now I'm going to subtract the 31. 2x equals what? Negative 30. And x equals negative 15. Now, find the measure of angle NMP. NMP, that's this guy right here. So I need to plug it in to that one. Now, very quickly, we cannot end up with a negative degree measure. That doesn't make sense. So I'm hoping that when we plug in the negative 15, we may end up with a positive value. Do we? So let's see. 10 times negative 15 plus 4. What is 10 times negative 15? Negative 150. That gives me negative 146. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? I can't have a negative degrees. So I would call this one no solution, because we can't end up with a negative degree measure. Okay? So? All right, I'm going to pass out your homework. Happy studying.